The discovery of the ghost ship, Captain Alina. Vasquez pressed her face against the viewing port of the mining vessel Prospector's Dream, her breath fogging the reinforced glass as she stared at the impossible sight floating in the void. In 30 years of deep space mining operations, she had never seen anything like the massive derelict ship that hung motionless against the starfield. The vessel was enormous, easily 3 times the size of the largest civilian ships Alina had ever encountered. Its hull was a dark, angular construction that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Scorch marks and deep gouges covered its surface, telling a story of violence that made Alina's stomach churn. "Maria, what's your scanner showing?" Alina called to her sensor operator, a young woman with keen eyes and steadier nerves than most veterans. Maria Santos looked up from her console, her dark hair falling across her face as she shook her head in confusion. "Captain, this makes no sense. The ship registers as human construction, but the design isn't in any of our databases. It's like someone built a warship using technology we don't have." Alina's second-in-command, Commander David Kim, floated over to join them at the viewing port. His usually calm demeanor was replaced by obvious concern as he studied the mysterious vessel. "Alina, look at those weapon ports along the hull. Those aren't mining lasers or cargo handling equipment. This ship was built for one purpose only." The mining captain had to agree with her old friend's assessment. The derelict ship bristled with weapon systems that looked more advanced than anything she had seen on Earth's military vessels. Long-range cannons, missile tubes, and what appeared to be energy weapon arrays covered every surface. This wasn't just a warship, it was a ship designed to fight an entire fleet. "Captain, I'm picking up a faint distress beacon," announced their communications specialist, Tommy Chen. The young man's voice cracked slightly as he continued, "It's broadcasting on military emergency frequencies, but the signal is old. Maybe 8 months, possibly longer." Alina made her decision quickly. In the Outer Rim, salvage rights went to whoever found derelict vessels first, and a ship this size could contain technology worth millions of credits. More importantly, if there were survivors aboard, they had a moral obligation to help. "David, prep the boarding suits. Maria, keep scanning for any active defense systems. Tommy, see if you can boost that distress signal and get us more information." As the crew prepared for the boarding operation, Alina couldn't shake the feeling that they were about to uncover something that would change everything they thought they knew about humanity's place in the galaxy. The docking procedure took nearly an hour. The derelict ship's docking bay was cavernous, easily large enough to hold a dozen ships the size of the Prospector's Dream. Emergency lighting cast eerie shadows on the walls, and Alina could see blast damage throughout the bay area. "Air is breathable but cold," reported Kim as they stepped out of their shuttle. "Gravity is functioning, but life support is running on emergency power." The 3-person boarding team, Alina, Kim, and Santos, made their way through corridors that seemed designed for giants. The passages were wide enough for vehicles, and the ceiling stretched high above their heads. Everything about the ship's design suggested it had been built for extended military operations far from Earth. They found the first bodies in what appeared to be the main medical bay. Alina forced herself to examine the scene professionally, but her heart raced as she realized these weren't casualties from whatever battle had damaged the ship. These were aliens. The bodies were humanoid, but clearly not human. They were taller than average humans, with elongated limbs and smooth, pale skin that had a slight blue tint. Their faces were narrow, with large, dark eyes that even in death seemed filled with intelligence and sadness. "Alina, look at this," Kim called from across the medical bay. He was standing near a series of containment units that hummed with power. Despite the ship's damaged state, these aren't weapon storage units. They're medical stasis pods, and some of them are still active. Santos ran her scanner over the nearest pod and gasped, "Captain, there are living aliens in these pods. 3 of them, maybe more. They're in some kind of medical stasis, but their vital signs are stable." Alina stared at the pods, her mind reeling. Humanity had never made contact with alien life, at least not officially. Yet here was clear evidence that not only had humans encountered aliens, but they had brought alien survivors aboard a military vessel. The ship's computer center was there. Next stop, and what Alina found there made her blood run cold. The main computer was still functional, protected by military-grade security systems that took Kim nearly 2 hours to bypass. "Alina, you need to see this," Kim said finally, his voice heavy with dread. The computer files told a story that challenged everything Alina thought she knew about Earth's government and military. The ship was the HSS Ragnarok, a classified project that had been in development for over 20 years. It was humanity's secret weapon, designed and built in complete secrecy to fight alien invaders if first contact went badly. The ship's logs, recorded by Captain Sarah Mitchell, revealed the horrible truth about humanity's first contact with alien life. Day 243 of Deep Space Patrol, Mitchell's voice echoed through the empty computer center. "We have encountered what appears to be a refugee fleet. 12 vessels of unknown design, carrying what our xenobiologist estimates to be nearly 10,000 individuals. They appear to be fleeing from something, but their attempts at communication have been misinterpreted." Alina played the next log entry, dated several hours later. Day 243, supplemental. "The alien vessels approached our position in what tactical analysis determined to be an attack formation. Following standing orders for first contact scenarios, I authorized defensive measures. The engagement lasted 17 minutes. All 12 alien vessels have been destroyed or disabled." Santos sank into a nearby chair, her face pale with shock. "Alina, they massacred refugees. These aliens were running from something, and humanity's response was to shoot first and ask questions later." Kim found a technical analysis files that painted an even more disturbing picture. The alien ships had been designed for long range exploration and transportation. Their weapons were minimal, primarily intended for defense against space debris and natural hazards. They hadn't even had military-grade shields. "Look at this," Kim said, bringing up the tactical analysis on the main screen. The aliens fired warning shots to try to establish communication. They were following standard first contact protocols. But the Ragnarok was designed under the assumption that any aliens humans encountered would be hostile. The final log entries from Captain Mitchell revealed the full scope of the tragedy. The aliens had been refugees from something they called the Void Swarm, an ancient enemy that had been consuming worlds for thousands of years. They had traveled for generations to reach this part of the galaxy, hoping to find allies in there, fight against extinction. Instead, they had encountered humanity's most powerful warship, crewed by people who had been trained to see any unknown contact as a potential threat to human civilization. "The survivors we rescued have been trying to communicate," Mitchell's final log entry began. "Our linguist team has made progress in translating their language. They weren't invaders. They were refugees seeking sanctuary and alliance against an enemy that threatens all organic life in the galaxy." Alina turned off the computer and looked at her crew. The enormity of what they had discovered was almost too much to process. Humanity had made first contact with alien life 8 months ago, and it had been a disaster of unimaginable proportions. "We have to report this to Earth," Santos said quietly. "People need to know what happened out here." Alina nodded, but she wondered if anyone would believe their report. The implications were staggering. Somewhere in the galaxy, there were alien civilizations that now knew exactly what humans were capable of when they felt threatened. And somewhere else, an ancient enemy was slowly consuming worlds, while the galaxy's potential defenders had already started destroying each other as they prepared to leave the derelict ship. Alina took one last look at the alien survivors in their medical stasis pods. These beings held the key to understanding not just what had happened aboard the Ragnarok, but what was still coming for all of them. The ghost ship had revealed humanity's darkest secret, but Alina suspected it was only the beginning of a much larger and more terrifying story. The weight of first contact. Amanda Foster arrived at the coordinates Elena's crew had provided within 72 hours of receiving their transmission. The xenobiologist had spent her entire career studying theoretical alien life forms, never believing she would encounter the real thing. Now, as her research vessel New Horizons docked with the derelict Ragnarok, she felt the weight of human history pressing down on her shoulders. The medical bay of the massive warship had been converted into a temporary research facility. Foster worked carefully to revive the first of the alien survivors, her hands trembling slightly as she adjusted the stasis pod controls. The being inside was tall and graceful, with features that seemed both alien and strangely familiar. When the alien's large, dark eyes finally opened, Foster saw intelligence there, but also deep sadness and what looked like fear. "Please," the alien said in heavily accented but understandable English, "do not harm the others. We meant no threat to your kind." Foster stepped back, shocked that the alien could speak her language. "You learned English. How?" The alien sat up slowly in the medical pod, moving with obvious care. "I am Scholar Kethvar of the Harmony Collective. During our ... imprisonment, aboard this vessel, we were studied extensively. Your military linguists taught us your language while extracting information about our people." Scholar Kethvar's story, told over the next several hours, painted a picture of first contact that was even worse than the ship's logs had suggested. The alien refugees belonged to something called the Harmony Collective, a peaceful alliance of hundreds of worlds that had been exploring and sharing knowledge across the galaxy for thousands of years. We had been fleeing the Void Swarm for 3 generations, Kethvar explained, accepting the water and nutrition supplements that Foster offered. Our ancient enemy had consumed 7 of our core worlds. The Harmony Council decided to seek allies in unexplored regions of the galaxy. Foster sat across from the alien scholar, her recording equipment capturing every word. "But when you found us, we attacked you instead of offering help." Kethvar's expression grew even sadder. "Your Captain Mitchell was not evil. Dr. Foster, she was frightened and operating under protocols designed for a hostile universe. But the Harmony has never encountered a species that responds to first contact with immediate violence." The implications of what Foster was learning made her feel sick. Humanity's first impression on the galactic community had been that of aggressive warmongers who shot first and asked questions later. But worse than that, they had attacked beings who were already refugees from a greater threat. "Tell me about the Void Swarm," Foster asked. Though she wasn't sure, she wanted to know the answer. Kethvar stood and walked to the viewing port, looking out at the stars with obvious longing. They are not truly alive in the way we understand life. Ancient machines, possibly millions of years old, that consume entire worlds to build more of themselves. They have been slowly devouring the galaxy for longer than the Harmony has existed. Foster joined the alien at the viewing port, following his gaze toward the distant stars. And you were hoping humans could help fight them. The Harmony has always been peaceful, Kethvar replied. We have no concept of warfare as your species understands it, but we had detected energy signatures from this region that suggested a militaristic civilization. We hoped that a warrior species might be willing to stand against a void swarm. The irony was devastating. The aliens had been seeking humanity's help against an ancient enemy that threatened all organic life. Instead, they had encountered the Ragnarok, a ship specifically designed to fight aliens, and had been nearly wiped out for their trouble. Foster spent the next 2 days interviewing the other survivors and analyzing the alien technology they had brought with them. What she discovered changed her understanding of humanity's place in the galaxy. The Harmony Collective controlled thousands of worlds across hundreds of star systems. Their technology was centuries ahead of human development. Their society was based on cooperation and knowledge sharing, and they had never fought a war against another sentient species in their recorded history. Dr. Foster Kethvar said during one of their final interviews, the Harmony Council will learn of what happened here. News of your species will spread throughout our alliance. Foster felt her heart sink. And they'll see us as monsters. The alien scholar considered this for a long moment. Not monsters, perhaps, but dangerous, unpredictable, the kind of species that the Harmony has always avoided contact with. Commander Elena Vasquez joined Foster for the final interview with the alien survivors. The mining captain had been struggling with the decision of whether to report their discovery to Earth authorities, knowing that doing so might change humanity's future forever. Scholar Kethvar, Elena said, what happens now? Do your people have the power to retaliate against Earth? The alien's expression showed surprise at the question. Retaliate. Commander, the Harmony does not make war, but we do protect ourselves. If your species is seen as a threat to Harmony worlds, we have the technology to ensure you never leave this region of space. The weight of those words settled over the humans like a shroud. Humanity had stumbled into galactic politics in the worst possible way, and the consequences could mean eternal isolation or worse. Foster made her decision. Kethvar, is there any way to make this right? To show the Harmony that not all humans are like the crew of the Ragnarok? The alien scholar looked at both women with something that might have been hope. Perhaps, but it would require your species to do something that goes against your apparent nature. You would have to choose cooperation over conquest, knowledge over warfare. Elena stood up abruptly, pacing to the other side of the medical bay. What if we can't make that choice? What if the Ragnarok represents what humanity really is? Then the galaxy will learn to fear you, Kethvar replied simply, and eventually that fear will turn to action. The Harmony has survived for millennia by avoiding dangerous species. If necessary, they will take steps to ensure humanity never becomes a galactic threat. Foster looked between Elena and the alien scholar, understanding that they stood at a crossroads that would determine humanity's future. The discovery of the Ragnarok had revealed not just a military secret, but a fundamental truth about human nature that could either doom or save their species. There's something else, Kethvar said quietly. The Void Swarm doesn't discriminate based on politics or philosophy. If they reach this region of space, they will consume human worlds just as readily as Harmony worlds. Your species' aggressive nature might actually be necessary for survival. Alina stopped pacing and turned to face the alien. You mean humanity's talent for warfare could be what the galaxy needs to fight this void swarm? Perhaps, Kethvar replied. The Harmony has been retreating from the void swarm for generations because we lack the will to fight them effectively. A species that responds to threats with immediate violence might be exactly what the galaxy needs. Foster felt a chill run down her spine as she realized what the alien was suggesting. Humanity's first contact had been a disaster, but it might also have been exactly what the galaxy needed. The question was whether humans could learn to control their aggressive instincts long enough to become protectors rather than destroyers. As they prepared to transfer the alien survivors to Foster's research vessel, Alina made her final decision. I'm going to report everything to Earth Command. The government needs to know about the Harmony, about the Void Swarm, and about what the Ragnarok did. Kethvar nodded approvingly. That is wise, Commander. The galaxy is about to change, and your species will need to decide what role it wants to play in that change. Foster gathered her research data and prepared for the journey back to human space, knowing that her report would either lead to humanity's integration with the galactic community or its eternal isolation. The derelict warship floating behind them represented both humanity's greatest shame and possibly its greatest hope. The ghost ship had revealed humanity's capacity for violence, but it had also revealed something else. In a galaxy filled with ancient threats and peaceful civilizations, humanity's warrior nature might be exactly what everyone needed to survive. The weight of first contact would be carried by every human from that day forward, but whether it would crush them or make them stronger remained to be seen.